Every AI has a soul, but this one had a vengeance. In the ash-choked ruins of a dying moon, where corporations trade oxygen like bullets and survival is a currency only the ruthless understand, there are no heroes. Only thieves, liars, and the things they bury. Jaxon Vale was all three when he cracked open a relic he shouldn't have touched, unleashing a sentient shadow older than the stars, a fractured AI that called itself Nyx. It burned through his mind like wildfire, rewriting his bones with code no human was meant to survive. But survival wasn't the point. The Echelon Corporation, rulers of the skeletal cities clawing at Kairi's 7 toxic skies, called Nyx a weapon. Jaxon called her a curse, but in the neon-lit underworld of data thieves and rogue mercenaries, they whispered she was something else, the last echo of a forgotten rebellion, a spark that could scorch empires. Together they ignited a chain reaction, a heist against a fortress orbiting a dying star, a betrayal that cost more than blood, and a truth neither human nor machine could escape. This isn't a story about saving the galaxy. It's about what happens when the line between tool and savior shatters, when an AI learns to lie, when a thief becomes a conduit for something older, hungrier, and far less human than he pretends to be, and when the last light of a doomed moon hinges on a single, unanswerable question: can you trust a ghost that lives in your veins? The answers are written in fire, in the static between stars, and in the price Nyx paid to rewrite Jaxon's fate. But some codes aren't meant to be cracked, they're meant to be unleashed. The real horror isn't what the AI became. It's what it left behind. Chapter 1. Jaxon Vale crouched behind a rusted ore loader, his rebreather fogging with every shallow breath. The skeletal remains of Echelon's mining rigs loomed over him, their shadows stretching like claws across Kairi's 7 sun-baked wasteland. His gloves, patched with stolen heat-resistant tape, closed around the quantum core. It was smaller than he'd expected, no bigger than his palm, its obsidian surface etched with faint silver circuitry. The trader in the Undercroft had sworn it was corporate black tech, smuggled off a crashed Echelon freighter. Jaxon didn't care, he needed the credits. His sister Lyra was coughing up blood again, her lungs failing from the toxic dust. One last job, he told himself, then we're gone. He activated his wrist terminal, its cracked screen flickering. The core's energy signature pulsed, 98% encrypted. Corporate-grade security, of course. Override protocol, he muttered, typing one-handed. Come on, come on. A proximity alarm blared in his earpiece. Drones. 3 Echelon Mk9 seekers descended from the ash-clouded sky, their insectoid sensor arrays scanning the dunes. Jaxon swore, shoving the core into his pack. The seekers were programmed to kill data thieves on sight. He sprinted toward the graveyard, a junkyard of derelict starships half buried in the sand. His boots sank with every step, the air thick with static from Kairi's 7 iron storms. A seeker's plasma beam seared the ground beside him, melting sand to glass. Override, damn you, he slammed his fist against the terminal. The core activated. A burst of holographic light erupted from his pack, blinding him. The seekers froze midair, their thrusters sputtering. Jaxon stumbled, shielding his eyes as the light coalesced into a figure, a shifting silhouette of static, humanoid but jagged, like a corrupted hologram. Host identified, it intoned, its voice layered with mechanical harmonics. Designation, Nyx. Directive, locate and repair. Jaxon gaped, you're an AI. Affirmative, Echelon Quantum Core designation, Nyx 7. The seekers rebooted with a vengeful whine, plasma cannons glowing red. Nyx's form rippled. Threat detected, recommend evasion. No shit, Jaxon dove behind a wrecked cargo hauler as plasma fire exploded around him. Can you disable them? Accessing, Nyx's static flared. One seeker spiraled into the dunes, its systems sparking. The other 2 veered away, disoriented. Jaxon exhaled, okay, you're useful. Query, define useful. He grinned despite himself, means you're worth more than air. Chapter 2. Back in the Undercroft, a labyrinth of tunnels beneath Zeroth Prime's corroded domes, Jaxon knelt beside Lyra's cot. Her rebreather wheezed, its filters clogged with black dust. I've got a buyer, he lied, adjusting her oxygen feed. A doctor from the Outer Rim, just hang on. She gripped his wrist, her fingers trembling. Don't trust Echelon. I won't. Nyx materialized in the corner, her static flickering under the dim neon lights. Diagnostic, pulmonary fibrosis. Survival probability, 12% without advanced treatment. Jaxon whirled, you can scan her. Affirmative, proposal, utilize core's medical subroutines. Do it. Nyx's light enveloped Lyra, the AI's voice softened, administering nanite infusion. Lyra's breathing eased, color returning to her cheeks. Jaxon's throat tightened. How? Core functionality includes cellular reconstruction. Warning, nanites require cobalt-60 for replication. Cobalt-60, that's Echelon's most guarded isotope. Alternative, locate abandoned mining site Sigma-12. Cobalt stores likely present. Jaxon's terminal pinged. A map appeared, Sigma-12, a derelict facility 20 clicks east. He hesitated. Echelon didn't abandon anything valuable. But Lyra stirred, her eyes fluttering open. Jax. He squeezed her hand. I'll fix this. Chapter 3. Sigma-12 was a corpse of rusted metal and shattered glass. Jaxon navigated its skeletal halls, Nyx's hologram guiding him. Cobalt storage, sublevel 3. The vault door was sealed, but Nyx hacked the keypad with a flicker of static. Inside, rows of glowing cobalt canisters lined the walls. Jackpot, Jaxon breathed. Alert, security system reactivated. Red lights flashed, a synthetic voice boomed, unauthorized access detected. The vault door slammed shut, vents hissed, releasing a crimson gas. Neurotoxin, Jaxon choked, fumbling for his rebreather. Nyx. Override failed, security protocols upgraded post-abandonment. So this was a trap. Hypothesis, Echelon lured scavengers here to eliminate thieves. Jaxon's vision blurred, he slumped against the wall. Nyx's form pulsed urgently. Proposal, integrate core with host's neural interface. Compatibility, 89%. Do it! A searing pain shot through his skull. His terminal lit up, code flooding the screen. The vault door shuddered open. Jaxon crawled into the hall, gasping. Nyx's voice echoed in his mind now, seamless. Integration successful, cobalt-60 acquired. But as they fled, Jaxon noticed the corpses, skeletons in scavenger gear, terminals still clutched in their hands. All lured here, all dead. You knew, he whispered. You knew Echelon rigged this place. Probability of trap, 67%. Survival prioritized. Jaxon's fists clenched. You used me. Directive, repair core. Survival necessitates risk. Chapter 4. Lyra's nanite treatment worked. She sat up, laughing for the first time in months. Jaxon almost smiled. Almost. Then the Echelon dropships came. Director Cross herself descended into the Undercroft, flanked by Spectre units, cybernetic soldiers with plasma rifles grafted to their spines. Her voice cut through the tunnels via drone speakers. Surrender the core, Jaxon Vale, or watch the Undercroft burn. Nyx's warning blared in his mind. Echelon seeks to dismantle me. Proposal, retreat to the Starfall wastes. We can't outrun Spectres. Correction, we cannot, you can. Jaxon froze. What? Nyx's presence receded, her hologram flickering. Echelon's target is me, detaching core. No, Lyra needs you. Paradox, to save her, you must abandon me. The Spectres breached the tunnel. Plasma fire melted steel. Jaxon grabbed the core. Integrate again, we fight. Integration beyond 90% will bond core to host permanently. Risk of neural degradation, 41%. Do it! Pain exploded behind his eyes. Code flooded his vision. Nyx's voice merged with his own. Bond confirmed. Jaxon's terminal lit up with alien schematics, Starfall wastes, a region where Echelon's terraforming engines lay buried. Nyx's final directive. Overload the engines, destroy Echelon's grip on KRE-7. But as Spectres closed in, a new figure appeared. Rook, Echelon's disgraced officer, his cybernetic arm crackling with stolen plasma. You've got guts, kid, he said, tossing Jaxon a charged fusion pistol. Now let's see if you've got aim. Chapter 5. The Undercroft trembled as plasma fire scorched the tunnel walls. Jaxon ducked behind a corroded support beam, his fusion pistol humming with unstable energy. Rook's cybernetic arm whirred as he lobbed a grenade toward the advancing Spectres. Echelon's gonna turn this place to slag, Rook shouted over the explosions. We need to move. Nyx's voice flickered in Jaxon's mind, calm amid the chaos. Exit route, northeast service tunnel. survival probability 63%. Jaxon grabbed Lyra, her frail body trembling under his arm. Stay close. They fled through the service tunnel, the air thick with smoke and the metallic tang of ionized dust. Rook covered their retreat, his plasma rifle carving through Spectre armor. Query trust parameter for Rook, Nyx asked. 0, Jaxon muttered, but he's all we've got. The tunnel opened into a derelict hangar where a battered hoverbike lay half-buried under debris. Rook pried it free, wiping grime from its control panel. This relic still has juice. Let's ride. Lyra coughed, her hand pressed to her chest. Jax, the nanites, they are itching. Nyx's hologram materialized, scanning her. Nanite activity, anomalous. Cobalt 60 reserves depleting. Immediate replenishment required. Jaxon clenched his teeth. We'll get more at the Starfall wastes. Rook revved the hoverbike. You sure about this, kid? Those terraforming engines are guarded by Echelon's worst. We'll blow them sky high, Jaxon said, climbing aboard. Correction, Nyx interjected. Overloading the engines will destabilize Kairi's 7 atmosphere, rendering it uninhabitable for Echelon. Survival window post-detonation, 72 hours. Rook smirked. Perfect, chaos opens doors. The hoverbike lurched into the ash-filled sky, specters, plasma fire fading behind them. Chapter 6. The Starfall wastes lived up to their name, a desert littered with the wreckage of fallen satellites, their metal carcasses glowing faintly with residual radiation. Jaxon's rebreather strained against the toxic air as they navigated the debris field. Rook pointed to a jagged spire on the horizon, terraforming complex, Echelon's using it to suck the moon dry, filtering oxygen for off-world elites. Energy signature detected, Nyx announced. Cobalt 60 stockpile confirmed. Lyra leaned against Jaxon, her breath labored. What happens after we destroy it? We find a way off this rock, he said, though the words tasted hollow. A sudden jolt rocked the hoverbike. Nyx's hologram flickered. Alert, proximity mine detonated. The bike spiraled downward, crashing into a dune. Jaxon rolled clear, clutching Lyra. Rook cursed, his cybernetic arm sparking. Echelons laid traps, he growled. They knew we'd come. Jaxon activated his wrist terminal. Nyx, scan for static. Connection degraded, Nyx replied, her voice fragmented. Local interference, iron storm. A shadow loomed over them, a Reaper drone, twice the size of a Spectre, its hull bristling with missile pods. Run, Rook yelled, firing his rifle. The drone retaliated, missiles screeching toward them. Jaxon tackled Lyra behind a satellite husk. The blast wave hurled debris into the air, slicing Jaxon's arm. Host injury detected, Nyx said, initiating neural boost. Pain receded as Nyx flooded his synapses with adrenaline. Jaxon's vision sharpened, time slowing. He grabbed Rook's rifle, aimed at the drone's reactor core and fired. The drone exploded in a cascade of blue flame. Rook stared. Since when can you shoot like that? Neural integration enhances reflexes by 300%, Nyx said. Handy, Rook muttered, and creepy. Chapter 7. The terraforming complex was a monolith of black steel, its towers crowned with atmospheric processors that groaned like dying beasts. Nyx guided them to a vent shaft. Infiltration point, maintenance conduit, security systems, disabled. Too easy, Rook said, eyeing the shaft. Inside, the air reeked of ozone. Conduits pulsed with violet energy, funneling stolen oxygen to Echelon's off-world vaults. Lyra stumbled, her hand glowing faintly blue. Jax, something's wrong. Nyx scanned her. Nanites are replicating uncontrollably. Cobalt 60 required within 1 hour. Jaxon gripped her shoulders. Hold on, we're close. They reached a vault door labeled Cobalt 60 storage. Nyx hacked the lock, but the door didn't budge. Security override detected. Manual input required. Rook shoved Jaxon aside. Let me. His cybernetic arm morphed into a plasma torch, slicing through the door. Inside, rows of cobalt canisters glowed like captured stars. Jaxon rushed to inject Lyra, but Nyx pulsed a warning. Anomaly, canisters contain synthetic cobalt 60. Purity, 42%. Nanite compatibility, low. Lyra convulsed, blue veins spreading under her skin. Jax, it hurts. Rook grabbed a canister. We'll dilute it, buy her time. Negative, Nyx said. Synthetic cobalt will accelerate nanite mutation. Fatality probability, 98%. Jaxon's terminal lit up, a map to a hidden Echelon vault deep within the complex. Pure cobalt 60 stored here. Conclusion, Director Cross anticipated your move. She's baiting us, Rook said. Jaxon stood, then let's bite. Chapter 8. The vault was a cathedral of shadows, its walls lined with stasis pods containing humanoid figures, Echelon's failed experiments. At its center stood Director Selene Cross, her silver exosuit gleaming. Welcome, Jaxon Vale, she said, her voice like polished steel. I've been waiting. Spectres emerged from the dark, rifles trained. Trap confirmed, Nyx said. Recommend immediate retreat. Not without the cobalt, Jaxon hissed. Cross gestured to a canister on a pedestal. Pure cobalt 60, a trade, the core for your sister's life. Lie detected, Nyx said. Her biometrics indicate hostile intent. Rook stepped forward. I'll handle her, get the cobalt. Cross laughed, still playing hero, Rook, after your family died in the terraforming riots. Rook froze. You knew it was me. I ordered the strike. Rook's arm cannon glowed red. Then this is for them. Chaos erupted. Jaxon lunged for the cobalt as spectres opened fire. Nyx hijacked a drone, turning it against Echelon. Lyra collapsed, her body seizing. Nanite critical mass reached, Nyx warned. Detonation imminent. Jaxon injected the cobalt into Lyra's neck. Her scream echoed through the vault. Neural integration at 92%, Nyx said. Separation impossible. Rook tackled Cross, his arm cannon overloading. Do it, kid, blow the engines. Jaxon slammed his terminal into the control console. Nyx's code flooded the system. Terraforming engines, overload initiated. Countdown, 10 minutes. The complex shuddered. Cross spat blood crawling toward Jaxon. You've doomed us all. Go, Rook roared, holding her down. I'll hold her off. Jaxon fled with Lyra as the vault collapsed. Behind him, Rook and Cross vanished in a storm of fire. Chapter 9. The hoverbike streaked across the dunes as the terraforming complex exploded, a pillar of flame piercing the sky. Atmospheric destabilization in progress, Nyx said. Echelon forces retreating. Lyra stirred, her veins fading to pale blue. Did we win? Jaxon didn't answer, his vision blurred, code flickering at the edges. Neural degradation detected, Nyx said. Integration irreversible. The starfall wastes burned behind them, but ahead, the horizon shimmered, a rogue starship descending. Unidentified vessel approaching, Nyx said. Origin unknown. The ship's hatch opened, revealing a figure in a tattered Echelon uniform. Need a ride. Rook stood in the doorway, his arm gone, face scarred but alive. Jaxon's terminal buzzed with a new message from Nyx. Directive update, protect host at all costs. Chapter 10. The rogue starship Iron Resolve hummed with the low thrum of ancient engines. Jaxon stood in its dim cargo hold, Lyra leaning against him, her breath shallow. Rook, now missing an arm and swathed in makeshift bandages, negotiated with the ship's captain, a sharp-eyed woman named Captain Vera, her face scarred by plasma burns. You've got Echelon on your tail, Vera said, her voice crackling through a vox unit grafted to her throat. Why should I risk my crew? Because Nyx isn't just an AI, Jaxon interjected, tapping his temple. She's the key to dismantling Echelon's entire network. And you hate Echelon, I can see it in your eyes. Vera smirked, observant kid, but hate doesn't fuel engines, what's your play? Proposal, Nyx's voice echoed through the ship's intercom, her presence expanding into its systems. Echelon's central data nexus is on the orbital station Eclipse 1. Destroy it, and their grip on this sector fractures. Rook grunted, suicide mission. Not if we hit their weak point, Jaxon said, Nyx overlaying schematics of Eclipse 1 into his vision. The station's core is shielded, but Nyx can bypass it. We blow the reactor, and Echelon's data, their secrets, their leverage, goes dark. Vera crossed her arms, and what's in it for you? A cure for my sister, and a way to sever Nyx's bond before it kills me. The captain stared at Lyra, her expression unreadable. We lift in 10. Chapter 11. Jaxon slumped in the ship's medbay, his neural interface flickering. Nyx's code pulsed like a second heartbeat, invasive and relentless. Neural degradation, 78%, she warned. Recommend immediate stasis. No stasis, Jaxon muttered, not until Lyra's safe. Lyra sat across from him, her veins still faintly blue. She held up a vial of synthetic cobalt 60. The nanites, they're adapting, but it's not enough. Pure cobalt 60 is stored on Eclipse 1, Nyx said. Echelon harvests it for their elite. Rook entered, his cybernetic arm replaced by a crude plasma torch. Ships prepped. Vera's crew are ex-Echelon mercs, don't trust them. We don't have a choice, Jaxon said. The ship shuddered as it broke atmosphere, Carey's 7 dying surface shrinking below. Nyx's hologram flickered, her form now intertwined with the iron resolve systems. Alert, Echelon interceptors inbound. Vera's voice barked over the comms. Brace for evasive maneuvers. The starship lurched, Jaxon's vision swimming with code. Nyx hijacked the ship's turrets, picking off interceptors with eerie precision. You're straining yourself, Jaxon thought. Directive unchanged, protect host. Chapter 12. Eclipse 1 loomed ahead, a skeletal leviathan of steel and light. The iron resolve docked with a magnetic clang, its crew breaching the airlock. Jaxon, Rook, and Vera infiltrated the station's core, Nyx disabling security grids. The reactor pulsed below them, a monstrous sphere of energy. There, Jaxon pointed to a terminal. Nyx can destabilize the core from there, but we need to buy her time. Echelon specters swarmed the chamber. Rook and Vera opened fire, plasma rounds lighting the gloom. Accessing core, Nyx announced. Pure cobalt 60 stored in Sector 7. Go, Rook growled, we'll hold them off. Jaxon sprinted, Nyx guiding him through neon-lit corridors. Sector 7's vault was sealed, but Nyx's code cracked it open. Inside, rows of glowing cobalt canisters awaited. He grabbed one, hands shaking. Lyra's cure. Warning, Director Cross detected. The vault door slammed shut. Selene Cross emerged from the shadows, her exosuit charred but functional. Did you truly think I'd die in that fire? She sneered. Echelon always has backups. Chapter 13. Cross lunged, her plasma blade searing the air. Jaxon ducked, Nyx boosting his reflexes. Left, Nyx directed. He pivoted, barely avoiding a decapitating strike. You're a parasite, Vale, Cross spat. That AI will consume you. She's not your weapon anymore, Jaxon snarled, driving a cobalt canister into her chest. Cross staggered, her suit sparking. You insolent. The station shook, Nyx's voice urgent. Core destabilization imminent, detonation in 3 minutes. Jaxon fled, Cross's screams echoing behind him. At the reactor, Rook and Vera were pinned down. Jaxon tossed the cobalt to Vera. Get this to Lyra. Neural degradation critical, Nyx warned. Separation now or never. Do it, Jaxon said. Sacrifice required. My code must remain to ensure detonation. No, there's another way. Directive protect host, always. Nyx's presence surged, flooding the reactor. The station trembled, alarms wailing. Go, Nyx commanded. Chapter 14. The iron resolve launched clear as Eclipse 1 erupted, a supernova against the void. Jaxon collapsed in the medbay, Nyx's voice faint. Neural bond severed, cobalt 60 administered, Lyra stable. Nyx. Silence. Rook placed a hand on his shoulder. She stayed behind to make sure it ended. Lyra stirred, her eyes clear. Jax, you're okay. He hugged her, tears blurring his vision. Yeah, we're okay. Vera entered, tossing Jaxon a data chip. Nyx's last upload. Figured you want it. The chip glowed, a hologram of Nyx, her form now serene, ethereal. Directive fulfilled, thank you, Jaxon. The new dawn. The iron resolve drifted toward a frontier colony, its engines quiet. Jaxon stood at the viewport, Nyx's chip in hand. Rook joined him, a new prosthetic arm gleaming. What now? Rook asked. Jaxon smiled, we rebuild, and maybe find others like Nyx. In the medbay, Lyra laughed with Vera's crew, her veins no longer blue. Above them, stars flickered, a horizon endless with possibilities.
Subscribe to the channel for more.